why in the world would Judas betray Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at his life with Jesus for 3.5 years, which he loved,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
why would he do that?
Exactly.
And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, And this goes back to the point of thoughts, imaginations,
Strongholds.
strongholds. Welcome to another episode.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're going to be talking about this trend in the Bible. And this trend in the Bible is where it talks about thoughts, imagination, strongholds.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a continuous trend that we see in the Bible over and over, where it talks about thoughts, imagination, strongholds. Be watchful of your thoughts,
Right.
your imaginations, because they create strongholds. And this is really powerful because the first time we see this, Jesus actually talks about this himself. And in John chapter 14, verse 30, in fact, he says, the prince of this world cometh and hath nothing in me. Right? That's his mind, his thoughts. And so Satan can't even conquer him.
Right.
And then you have another verse in 2 Corinthians chapter 10. And let's look at that real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. And that says, in verse 5, it says, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Right? So there's that imaginations, right? So that's the trend that we see. Thoughts, imaginations, strongholds over and over. And so we're going to bring this point home even more. We're going to look at the story of Judas, because what you're going to see in the story of Judas in betraying Christ had to do with his thoughts, and then it became imaginations,
and
it had a stronghold.
We don't even understand how powerful this is.
Yeah. And guess what? Where did it start?
In the thoughts.
And where are your thoughts at?
Right. Exactly.
In your mind, right? So
right.
Matthew chapter 27, we're going to be there. But let's go ahead and look at Matthew chapter 26 and get a little context. Matthew chapter 27 is where he actually betrays Jesus. Matthew chapter 26 is where Jesus pretty much prophesies that it's going to be him.
Right.
So Matthew chapter 26 in verse 21. Let's go to verse 20. It says, now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. This is where Jesus is about to sit down and eat with them. And he said, and as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? So here they are, they're like searching within themselves, like, man, is it me? Verse 23, it says, and he answered and said, he that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. That's crazy.
Right.
Jesus is like, hey, it's one of y'all. He makes that very clear. Verse 24, the Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe unto the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. So, like, here's the thing. Judas knows it's him. And Jesus is still giving warning.
Right.
Like, hey, man, it'd be better if you weren't born.
Right. Right.
Now, let's get a little bit more context. Did you know that Judas was the only disciple that Jesus did not call?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because he called the other 11. And if you do some study in the Bible, you'll see that the disciples brought Judas on. Because why? They were like, yo, this man is good with the money.
Right.
He knows how to manage all this stuff. He knows what he's doing.
Right.
Let's bring this guy on.
Right.
Which kind of makes sense. Why? Because they misunderstood Jesus' purpose. They thought that what was he going to do? Overthrow the Romans. Right. Set up the kingdom. So, man, look, I mean, when you set up a kingdom, there's some money in there, you know?
We need somebody like him.
Yeah, we need somebody like him to manage these things. And over, we'll see through Jesus' ministry where he's trying to, you know, even here, trying to help Judas. Then the craziest thing comes next. Verse 25. Then Judas, which betrayed him, the Bible is telling us that already, answered and said, Master, is it I? Like, come on, man. Why would you even say that? Like, I feel like, why would I even blast myself knowing that it's me?
Right, right. I don't know. Did he really know fully that it was him?
I think he did.
Right.
And when I read this, what comes to my mind is, I wonder if he's thinking, does he really know it's me? But guess what?
Right.
All the other disciples are asking, is it I?
Right.
So if he don't ask, it don't look like he fitting in.
Right. That's
So
true.
then guess what? You know
That's a
what
good
happens?
point. Right.
All eyes turn to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro, is it you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so he has to fit in. That's what I feel like was happening there. And then it says, what does Jesus respond? He said unto him, thou hast said.
Mm-hmm.
And this is pretty much the same thing that he said to Pilate.
Mm.
When Pilate said, are you the king of the Jews?
Right.
He said, you have said it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Another word for yes.
And then Jesus didn't even want to bring the attention. So what does he do? It says, and as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, and go, and so on. So Jesus didn't even make it obvious.
Right.
So that's just a little bit of context. Now let's jump into the actual betrayal.
Right.
Matthew chapter 27, verse 1.
Now,
so jump the page, just one chapter over. It says, verse 1.
Verse 1, yeah.
When the morning was come, as the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders. So RJ, go ahead and give us a little help. Where is this silver coming from? What has happened the night before in Gethsemane?
Yes, so the night before, Jesus was out there spending time with the Lord, right, with God the Father. He was, praying because he knew his time was coming.
Yep.
As Jesus, he knew always his time.
Yeah.
He knew he was always on time. And then Judas, of course, because of his greed for money, and that's something that we have to be careful for too as well, with the greed of money, right? We kind of talked about that with Solomon, but he goes and betrays Jesus with this money. Yep. And I believe it was 30 pieces of silver?
Yeah, 30 pieces of silver.
30 pieces of silver. And that wasn't even that much.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you think about that, that's wild. This brother really, something took hold of this brother.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like, for you to do that, and especially for you to really be around Jesus for that long.
Yep.
And, and to know that he is the Messiah, to know that he is the Son of God. And yet you can still do this, and that's so dangerous.
And I want to hit on that point. You know why? Because why did he do that?
Right. Knowing already.
And that has to come back to thoughts, imaginations, strongholds.
Oh my God.
Because here it is, like you said, they're in the Garden of Gethsemane. Judas comes up, betrays Jesus, tells the men, go get him.
Go get him. He tells them where he was at.
Why would he do that, right? And then in chapter 27 of Matthew, that's where we're seeing the effect and the weight of his decision.
Right.
Why in the world would Judas betray Jesus? When you look at his life with Jesus for 3.5 years, which he loved, why would he do that?
Exactly.
And I started thinking about that, and I'm like, And this goes back to the point of thoughts, imaginations, strongholds. What did the disciples believe Jesus came to earth for?
Oh, yeah. So what did the disciples believe?
What did they believe Jesus' purpose was?
Yeah, that he was going to, be the king.
Be the king. Be king of what?
Yeah. Of Jerusalem.
Exactly. Look, we're going to overthrow the Romans.
Right.
And Jesus is going to be our leader.
Exactly.
And so what we learn from this is that it's dangerous to misunderstand what Jesus is trying to bring out in your life. Because they misunderstood that, it led to Judas thinking what he thought. In fact, we see in other parts of the Bible what's happening. They start arguing. Right. They start fighting.
Right.
They're like, oh, I'm going to be on the right hand.
Right.
No, I am. And then they start arguing about this stuff. And it's like, wait, what? And the reason being is because they misunderstood Jesus' purpose. So they started thinking, you know what? Let's get Judas. He's going to run the money and stuff like that. And Judas, I feel like this is the process, if I had to put it in words. He started imagining. What is Judas' position? In charge of the money.
Yep.
He's in charge of the finances. So what did he start to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, in this new kingdom, when Jesus sets it up,
Mm-hmm.
yo, we about to have money.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the one in charge of it.
And I'm in charge.
Ooh.
So what I'm going to do is I need to set up everything well. And sure, maybe he had good intentions to help the kingdom.
Right.
But they misunderstood Jesus' purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So then what did he start to do? His thought was, if I actually expedite Jesus becoming king, we'll set up the kingdom faster.
And I could get him paid.
I can get the money going.
Right.
So let me set up the kingdom faster, because Judas didn't really want to betray Jesus. That was not his goal.
So. It wasn't his intention.
And we're going to see that in Matthew 27. We're going to see that. That was not his desire. What happened? His thoughts of who he would be in this new kingdom started to take over.
Come on now.
So what did he do? He started to imagine, right? Thoughts, imaginations, strongholds. He started to imagine who he would be in that new kingdom. Oh, I'm going to be over the money. I'm going to oversee this. I'm going to oversee that. I'm going to be in charge of this. Man, Jesus kind of taking too long. So you know what we need to do?
Expedite it.
Let's make it faster. Yeah. Let's make it faster.
Right.
How am I going to do that? I'm going to make it faster by getting this little 30 pieces of silver, which is kind of what you commented on, which is, that's not even that much. It don't matter. Because we about to have way more money than this.
Right.
I'm not trying to betray him. I'm just trying to expedite it. Now, why would he want to expedite that process? Because I feel like if I expedite the process, then Jesus is going to flex his power. And then we're going to get freed from the Romans. He's going to set up his kingdom.
Right.
So in this process, he's like imagining who he could become in this kingdom. So he's like, look, these are the disciples. They bring me on. I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to be that guy. I mean, he's going to be that guy.
Right.
Let's set up the kingdom. He started to imagine. And what did that imagination do? Create a stronghold. So ultimately, I feel like that's what happened with Judas.
Right.
As to why he followed through with what he did. Because he knew that, hey, I'm going to overthrow. We're just setting up the kingdom. But what he knew was incorrect. I want to comment on this point because we do this all the time.
Right.
We ourselves, we do this all the time. Thoughts, imagination, strongholds. I was buying this car. And I saw this car, man, and I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that. And I had a good car. But what happened? The thought of having that nicer car was like, I want that.
Come on now.
I want that. So guess what? I went and checked it out. Got the car checked out. White outside, black interior. That's the one that I checked out first. And when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that's a nice car.
Right.
I like the outside, I like how it looks. And then, guess what I saw? I saw another one with the red interior. Ooh. Man, you ever seen a red interior vehicle?
Oh, yeah. It's
They're nice, bro.
Yeah.
So I saw the red interior. And I was like, man, yes. I started imagining myself in that car. So here I am, I'm driving around, I'm in my regular car, I'm like looking at the other seat, the passenger seat, and I'm like, dang, imagine if that was red. That's nice. I think I might gotta get the red one. So as I started to imagine myself in it, it created this stronghold. And I was like, I gotta get that one.
Right.
So then I contacted the guy and I was like, hey, thank you. Even though the white one with the black interior was better than the other one with the red interior, it had less mileage on it, and it was just newer year and everything. I still wanted the one with the red interior. Why? Because my thoughts, I started imagining myself inside, and it created a stronghold.
Come on now.
And guess what? Today,
you got that car.
I got that car. Simply
That's
because
hilarious.
it started as thoughts.
Thoughts
right?
and strongholds.
And then I started imagining myself in the vehicle and then created a stronghold.
I mean, you would think about why do the advertisements, why do they charge 2-3 million millions of dollars
Yeah.
just for a 20-second commercial at the
Right.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because they know thoughts, thoughts
Absolutely.
are there. Their imaginations can start running to it, and then it'll become a stronghold.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's, boom, you thought come in. An imagination, you just start select land.
You know, let me go get some McDonald's.
And then next thing you know, you're stronghold. You at the drive-thru now.
Yep. Stronghold. You at the drive-thru.
Yeah, and you know, this actually reminds me of David too as well, right? With David.
Yep, with
he
Bathsheba.
was up there. Exactly. He was up there. Thoughts came. Oh, and then he started imagining.
Yep.
What it would be like, and then boom, stronghold. I'm about to kill
even to
Uriah.
the point of killing her husband.
Hey, brother, man, that's wild. That's crazy.
Stronghold.
See, that's why this is a very, very important topic.
Absolutely.
Because it literally happens to us every single day.
All the time.
Now, Brother Calvin, is it wrong to have thoughts and imaginations?
No.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with having thoughts and imaginations.
It's what you do with the thoughts or the imaginations.
Exactly.
Okay, very good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wanted to
There's
bring that point out.
There's nothing wrong with that.
For sure.
Right? There's options with who can be in control of your thoughts.
There you go.
In fact, in the Bible, Judas, I'm glad you brought out this point because in the Bible, Judas, his thoughts were planted in his mind by Satan. That's what the Bible tells us.
Really?
Yes.
What verse?
That verse is, I got to find it. But that verse is in the Bible.
That says that.
It says it.
That literally.
It says it
that
in there.
Satan put
that
the
Satan, yes, put the thought in his mind.
So
Yes.
Satan can put thoughts in
But
our
then
mind.
the Bible also tells us that Jesus can put thoughts in our minds,
in our minds
too.
as well.
Right? So it's not something that Satan does himself by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus can do it as well.
So it's what we do with that thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, because some people, I counsel with a lot of young people, who's struggling with pornography, right? Or struggling with, these issues of things of that nature. And one of the things they say, they think it's like, oh, the thought came into my mind. Oh, that's sin. Right? But I tell them, no. When the thought comes into your mind, is
Cast
not
it out.
sin. Yeah, you have the power to eject it.
Yeah.
Or imagine it or dwell upon it.
2 Corinthians 10:5.
Oh yeah.
Casting down imaginations.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Right? So it comes in there. That's fine.
But you gotta cast it down.
You gotta cast it down. And every high thing that exalts itself above the knowledge of God.
So we have that power to actually, when the thought comes, boom. It's like this. We go to the gym, right? I go to the gym. There'd be half naked women there.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, I'm not going to look at that. I'm married, right? But the point is, I go there. Boom, I look to the left. Oh, half naked woman. Thought.
Absolutely.
Now I have the power to imagine it and to keep looking.
Yes.
Or
to turn away.
And go and think about something else. Brother, it's hard.
It is.
Like, it's really, really hard, especially when they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So as men, especially, we have that power to remove that thought away from us.
Yeah.
So that the imagination will stop right then and there. So it could come from a thought, but then imagination stronghold, you can literally stop it right there. Because
100%.
you know what happens? If you look to the left, oh, half naked woman. Oh, hold on. Then you start looking more. And then
double
imagination, like, hold on, man, what if my wife don't see this? Man, like, or you start
whatever
thinking,
imagination
like,
comes to
does
the
she
mind.
have a boyfriend and things of that nature, right? So now it's just like, hold on, boom, and then next thing you know, I'm at home when my wife is not home.
And that's where it creates a stronghold.
Watching, things that you're not supposed to be watching. Stronghold.
Yeah.
Just because of a thought, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my word. It's so, man. There's a quote that I want to bring out. Watch this. It says, watch your thoughts, for they become words.
Mm-hmm.
Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny.
Yep.
What we think, we become. So literally everything that I just said, it starts with what? Your thoughts.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. We got to be very careful what we watch.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Whatever enters into the mind. Now, with that being said, that brings up the point where the question is, with Judas, how do we know that he didn't want to do it? Look at his reaction. Look at his response.
Right.
And what happened. Matthew chapter 27, verse 3. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented of himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? See thou to that. In other words, see through to it.
Yep.
And then he says, verse 5, and he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself.
Mercy. So the guilt was so strong.
Strong
So he had a
hold.
stronghold. So he had a chance. He actually repented, in a sense, right? He was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
But then the stronghold for him was too strong that he was like, I'm so guilty and I'm so ashamed.
Exactly.
And then he went and killed himself.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that the chief priests, they responded like, man, what is that to us?
Right.
But even they understood the depth of not messing with blood money. Because notice the next verse, verse 6. And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. So they even understood, like, we don't really want to mess with this.
Right. But then they also too got a stronghold.
Absolutely. Because their whole thing is they were plotting to catch Jesus anyways.
Right.
The unfortunate thing is that someone closest to him betrayed him. Yeah. All because what? He didn't watch his thoughts.
He wasn't
which
guarding.
became imaginations and created a stronghold.
Mm.
And so I think the important lesson that we can learn from this is we have to watch what enters our mind.
Right.
We have to watch what we entertain that enters our mind.
Exactly.
Because if we don't, that very thing will create a stronghold.
Exactly. And remember, just because an evil, quote unquote, thought comes into your mind,
exactly,
it is not sin.
Exactly.
It's what you do with that thought.
Yes.
Are you going to dwell upon it and then let it allow you to have a stronghold? But this reminds me of a verse in Proverbs 4, verse 23. Watch this. It says, keep your heart with all diligence. From out of it comes the issues of life.
Yes.
Now, when you look up the word heart in Hebrew, the heart literally means
the mind. Yeah.
So basically it's saying keep your mind with all diligence.
Yes.
I looked up the word diligence. What does the word diligence mean? It means a guard, a post, or prison.
Yes.
So back in those days, they had guards.
Yes.
Right? And what happens is, and when you think of you see this in Acts, I believe, when Paul was imprisoned, right? And then they got out, right? And then the post guy, the guard, he was like, man, I'm
in
get
trouble.
killed. I'm in huge trouble,
yes.
Right? Why? Because if that guard has to like literally guard it with his life.
Yes.
So in other words, the Bible is telling us here, guard your heart or your thoughts or your imaginations with all your life. Why? Because out of it comes the issues of life. And I believe the issues of life is the stronghold. So I just wanted to bring that point out. It's just like, man, we literally got to guard it with our thoughts and our minds. And this is powerful because, bro, how is Satan... If there's only one... I always ask the people that I study the Bible with this. If there's one thing that God wants from you, or Satan, that they want something from you.
Yeah.
There's only one thing. What would it be? It would be the mind. Why? Because if you got the mind, you got everything.
Absolutely.
See, what this is our thought, a reasoning.
To add on to that, the only way we can communicate to God is through our mind.
Come on now. Bro, that's literally what Satan is attacking is the mind.
100%.
Especially with this phone.
Yeah.
Like literally just a little slide, boom, you see a little thought in there and then Satan can just put that in, and then next thing you know, you start ruminating on it, and then boom.
And then to add to that, what do? Like, think about it. You'll say something, and then all of a sudden you'll be just chilling.
Right.
And then you say something, and then all of a sudden, what does your phone do? Pop up ads about the very thing you just said.
Exactly. And that just to get you
thoughts, reiterating that over and over.
Come on now.
And so the point that we can learn from this story of Judas is to watch your thoughts, because whatever enters your thoughts and you dwell on and you start to imagine is the next step. And then the final thing is imagining that thing creates a strong hold. And so it's important to be watchful of our thoughts, imaginations, and strongholds.
That's right.
So until next time, that's all. Peace.